goes back to the gentleman.
Basically, we just want to make sure we're not giving money or people that places that don't have a shortage. And even though if they do have a shortage that they already get the attention, we want to be able to help those ones who did not get the attention and don't have any.
And that's what we were talking about when I was talking to you guys earlier about how it's been a partnership that's been forming over the last 2 years. So when Saeed went, it was in a much different period. It was still a great crisis and in need of tremendous amount of help. But it was an exploratory trip trying to figure out where can we operate, what is the most successful, most effective way that we can operate in Somalia. So it's called an assessment. It's trying to figure out how are we going to move forward with this. Now it's a year later and it's a much different situation. It's in serious crisis mode in the south. And so not that, our plans before have been put on hold or that the original plans are going to be ignored, but right now the focus is on the crisis and in the places that need the most help. And so that's how we respond. And that's so kind of what I was talking about before is when you respond to a crisis, it depends completely on the context of what's happening in people's lives. And you have to know, that's where the technical expertise comes into play is that going in, figuring out who is in the greatest amount of need, what do we do most effectively, what are we good at, and what do we know that we've been able to do for 30 years that we can do here in this situation. And so that's why we're figuring out, okay, in southern Somalia, where can we effectively operate safely, not just safely for our team, but safely for the people who are receiving the aid. And so you have to, because it's so complex, because there's so many different things that are going on in that context, we have to be so careful. And so that's why working with the Somali diaspora to be able to contact people living in those very, very dangerous places and get directly from them what's going on around you. Do you have enough food to survive through this week? Do you have enough water? How far do you have to travel to get to the water source? What's happening in your neighborhood, in your community? How much are people suffering? And actually talking to people who are living the experience so that we know when we go in and we provide whatever it is they need, we're getting it from those people themselves. Does that make sense?
And if you know an organization working in that area that's reliable, please let me know. We are trying also to identify an effective and reliable organization in those areas. Because what we're trying is to be very careful with your tax, with your money, with the law of this country. But also we want to make sure people don't buy because that's so we're combining all that. So if you know an effective organization working in those areas, please we'd like to know.
Before we get to the very back,
We got 2 questions. Let's finish questions.
I think we should take a break for 5 minutes.
Let's take the 2 questions and then we will go very on. Everybody will get a chance to
He's first.
Go ahead.
My name is Hussein Ali Yusuf. I just have a question. I was wondering if you can tell us how the concept for nations, neighbors for nations, was actually born. You can tell us that story. And I'm curious about the relationship between the 2 entities, nations, neighbors for nations. What the relationship between that organization and ARC? The other question I have is, do you actually implement projects in Somalia? And if not, how do you ensure the competence of the organizations that you actually work on the ground?
You already answered those questions. I think you came late, right? Okay.
I came late.
Okay. By coming late, how about if I save time and then I explain to you later? But
Sure.
We have programs in Somalia.
Sure.
There is relations under the ARC. And actually I give it to him to answer your question. That's why I said that. So your question will be here.
Sorry, one second. Listen. Right. Okay. My question is straightforward. You say that if we come up with 10,000 right now, can you tell them that 9,000 can be available as soon as today? 90,000, sorry.
Well, if you...
And he has 2 questions for you. And the second question is, if we come up with that dispute all the programs.
You tell us what you want to do the money that you're doing. That's okay. We have the experts for that. But we listen to you. From the beginning, I said it to you. If you bring 10,000 and say, okay, we're going to be donating 10,000 or 20,000 for the Somali diaspora here, well, the way we do is we challenge the corporate organizations, U.S. government organizations, and saying that here in the Somali community, Somali American community, we approach it everywhere and we raise it like that's the way.
No, you said, we're talking about the 10,000 of them.
Yes, the 10,000. So we're going to raise 90,000.
So you don't have the 90,000 right now?
No, we're going to raise much of that.
And how long do you think it's going to take?
So the one that 37,000 in 2 days, the one 47,000 on the Somali community in Minnesota, raising it. Actually, the next after 2 days, there was $100,000 in the raise. So you can imagine how fast we're doing it. But also, we're going to be raising more than that. So yes, the sooner we can do it, yes. Your money is showing that the Somali guys are stepping up giving this. We're asking the US government, we're asking the corporate, we're asking everyone to march. We say that Somali Americans here, they raise their consider that we need you to march. And what the organization, the corporate are looking for a march, you know what I mean? And then they rely on an organization, international organization that they can trust. So they don't give it a check, blank check. They say the community will organize here somewhere. You know, it's not.
So a corporations love the ability to make an impact locally and then also globally, but really knowing that what they're doing to support the community or to support overseas helps the local community. So whenever you're trying to gain corporate support, one of the first questions is usually, how are you? What are you doing for the local community? And what's so powerful about Neighbors for Nations is that you're galvanizing the local support of the community here in the States to make an impact locally. And so, it builds a much stronger case. Corporations have been stepping up in ways that we haven't seen before to partner with Neighbors for Nations because it allows them to make local global impact. And it gives them a much better story to tell as well. And so when we're looking for corporate support, we have to follow because they'll outline certain guidelines of, these are the things that we prefer to fund, essentially. But what Saeed was mentioning before, when one of their own employees comes to them and says, hey, look, I'm stepping up. You know how much I'm making. I'm committing $1,000. It makes them look at it in a whole way. When people from within their company, and I'm just taking it a step further. You don't have to work at these companies. You know what I'm just saying that these are the different things that corporations look at when they're deciding who to give money to.
So you guys have a relationship with them already?
Yeah. We've been developing partnerships over the last however long, but essentially General Mills, Youth Care, United Way, Best Buy, those are some of our major partners at this time. We're hoping to work with Target because for us Target is headquartered in Minneapolis. So that's what I was talking about locally. But especially for the Ohio community, if there are major corporations that are based here in Ohio, if you can show that you're galvanizing the support of the Somali Ohio population, it's really going to show them how you can come together and how they can affect their community here and then also in this country. So it's that same kind of principle. It's just a matter of building a stronger case as to why their funds should go in one of these.
We're going to take a break from the question. Break. And then we'll go to the next. So, anybody have a question? Go ahead.
I don't know, sorry. You missed that? Okay, we were talking about Somalia.
Support. Our team on the ground, they're actually assessing why they're providing, they're giving 1 month food so that people will have at least 1 month, not only food, utensils, and food items. like utensils so that they will be able to cook, like water, clean water. So there, while they're doing that, we're also we're raising the money. So we're doing both short term, it's an emergency, and both long term to make sure. How about tomorrow? If we feel today, what's the plan for tomorrow? If they want to go back, we have incentive for them so that they can go there and farm. There's a rain in October. We're hoping there's a rainy season in Somalia, southern part of Somalia. So if some of them wants to go back, also we have to provide incentives so that they will be able to buy seeds and some money to go back and start farming. So those are the things that we do. So we're not only giving the money that people raise, but also just making sure.
So, just to give you an idea of kind of like how we're working, to elaborate on what Saeed was saying, we are in full crisis, meaning that money needs to go there today, and food and non-food, when you said non-food items, that means, you know, blankets and critical things that you need to like help you survive, not just food and water, but those other things that you need to get you through to tomorrow. That's what we're doing in Somalia now. And so there was, I think, up to 1,000 families that we were working with directly. And that's when Saeed was showing the pictures of the distribution. Those were going to people, and that actually went out last week. And so we're trying to, so when a crisis first hits, there's this kind of period that we're in where we don't have, because we spend money as we get it, we don't have like this wealth of money that we can just, you know, throw at a crisis. We actually have to raise the money in the moment. And that money allows us to respond immediately. So when the earthquake struck at Haiti, within 48 hours we had a team on the ground doing an assessment, figuring out what kind of a response that we can create. And so then it's the same thing that's happening right now in Somalia. We have a team that's working there that's identified families that we can work with and provide food and water to. And while they're providing those services to those people, they're also going out into the greater community and figuring out where else, how can we expand. But it's only through the money that we raise from individuals that we can make that initial response. And once we start providing services, and once we start, I hate the words providing services, because you're helping people, you're getting them what they need to survive, right? And once we start doing that for a certain amount of people, what that does is it allows us to leverage greater funds from the government, from the United Nations, and from other sources as well. But it starts from individuals like you. And that gives us the power to leverage $1 million from the government. But it is about providing help. So we're here, and when we say overhead costs, that's us talking to you. That's us spreading the word. That's us getting more people involved. Okay, the 90 cents that goes directly to people that are actually in Somalia suffering from the famine, that means getting them food, getting them water, getting them whatever they need to get through the next week, the next month. And so when Saeed, our staff at headquarters, they've been working like 15-hour days for the last 3 weeks, trying to get the word out about how severe this crisis is, and how critical it is that we get money in the hands of our team so that they can grow this response, so that they can reach more people, so that it's not just 1,000 families, it's 50,000. So that's what, so the money actually goes directly there. And when there's this just great misconception of money being held up, it's not, it's a matter of making it a smart response.